The finale of The Boys, I guess, it's just season 4. It brought me back to a place where I have to question, or ask the question, who really owns a show? The corporation or the director or the people who watch it. And on paper, it seems easy. You can say, whoever owns Amazon, whoever owns the copyright to The Boys, they kind of own it, and we just have to more or less, accept whatever they make. I just finished watching, the finale or whatever. And I don't know. I'm left kind of speechless in a certain way. Sometimes sometimes you expect or you want the producers or the showrunners to, stick the landing and give you something satisfying, and you're like, it doesn't always happen. And in this case, it didn't really happen for me. There was a lot of interesting stuff that happened um, in the show or in this last episode. I mean, that might sound surface level, but I kind of enjoyed all the stuff with the shapeshifter person. Um, the stuff with Huey, and then eventually it coming out that she was the shapeshifter, and she was tanking bullets and throwing people around and doing stuff, and then Starlight gets out. Um, I thought it was interesting that they had it to where she had to use her she had to like slip herself out of her handcuffs or whatever. I thought that was kind of like, I mean, the TV show made it seem like she's gonna be all right, but initially when it happened, it looked like, she's gonna have like terrible scars on her wrist or whatever. But the way she was acting in the rest of the show was like no big deal. But if I was her, I'd have figured out my fucking Starlight issues, and maybe she could have blinded the lady or burnt her chains off or whatever. Everyone had, not everyone, but people were thinking, what happened to the Cindy lady? I think that's her name. She's kind of the bald head. She shows up at the end of the show, but she's working for Homelander now. That makes no sense to me. I don't even care how they explain it in season 5. She was in prison being tested on and treated inhumanely, and they're the ones who broke her out. I don't know how you twist her mind to say that Vought is who she should be working for. I would have appreciated her coming back in any capacity other than the one that they brought her back in. Homelander did some great acting this episode. Anthony Starr, or they say Anthony, I don't care what his name is, but he did some good acting in this episode. I've always, well, not always, but I kind of find Ryan, or Homelander's son, I find that character annoying and sort of unrealistic or whatever. Much in the same way that in Superman Returns, they have that scene where Superman's son throws the piano and hits the bad guy and then he spends the rest of the movie like not doing anything or being kind of timid. And the idea is that like if any child, if any actual person found out they had superpowers, they would be way more curious, you know? They would be trying shit. They'd be running, jumping, working out, doing all kinds of things. This guy's, he's not doing shit. He flip flops on everything. He killed the old lady, which sucks for sort of the actress in the sense where it's like her character didn't have to die. Not that I don't have any connection to her character. I'm just like, in terms of the person acting, I want her to get a few more checks. Why not? Why can't she end the show with the cast or whatever? It's not necessary for her to die. I never cared about the Ryan character, and now I don't. I don't care if he turns back good, whatever, whatever. I'm done with the character because not just because of what happened in this episode, because he's always been indecisive and annoying, and they just pushed him over the edge on this one. As jaded as my soul is in 2024, I actually smiled and was happy that they put Kamiko and Frenchie together. I kind of gasped when the girl came and she whispered in his ear. I thought she was going to make him drown himself or something. I'm glad that didn't happen. Mother's Milk, kind of in a thankless role here. Since Huey's fine and Butcher's the one that's sick, I kind of wish that Mother's Milk would have took some V in season 3 and had some cool scenes. He doesn't get to do anything. I mean, he maybe punched his wife's boyfriend or whatever, but in terms of killing soups or having, even this whole season, they put him in charge for him to go, oh, my heart sucks or whatever. It kind of reminds me of how they treat Martin Lawrence in the Bad Boys franchise in the last 2 ones. What's the point of making him the leader if he's going to hand it back to Butcher because of plot conveniences or whatever? He was kind of written to be super ineffectual as a leader. And then even when he turns into the de facto leader in this episode, his big strategy, his big flurry, I mean, he had a couple ideas, but they fell through because it's like, do you have the information? Whatever, whatever. He goes back to, fuck it. Sort of the most irredeemable part of the entire shit for me was Butcher's heel turn. Sort of this whole time he's been sort of an unlikable rogue, He says cunt, he does, sort of funny shit, quasi funny, kind of mean, kind of stern, but in a good way, he's coming from a good place. This also reminds me of the TV show Luther in the sense where the serial killer Alice, these are spoilers for everything, but she killed this sort of innocent detective in the show. And beforehand, she was a lovable villain, a likable villain. She killed people that fucking deserved it, and you could kind of see why Luther was on her side or whatever, but they bring her back for like one of the TV movies or whatever, and then they make her irredeemable. And in this episode, to me, they made Butcher irredeemable. Victoria Newman, whatever she did or whatever, in the past or whatever, she came there, she was chilling, She was trying to be good, right? This thing comes out of nowhere with some tentacles, kills her. Frenchie has the fucking virus pointed at him, doesn't shoot him with it. He killed the girl in front of her daughter. I set a timer for myself. I went over. He kills the girl in front of her daughter. It's fucking stupid. To me, at least. And everybody just lets it happen. There's nothing we can do. Whatever. Whatever. Fuck. I thought her body was hella strong. She took a laser to the face, but now she can get ripped in half. So her eyes are strong. Her head is strong, but her torso is chilling. I don't care what happens to Butcher. I'm at the point now that I don't even care what I'm not. It's hard to say now, but I'm fairly certain that I'm not gonna watch season 5 because there's no point. Whatever. Um, I'm all for stakes in a TV show and casualties and people dying, but I want the decisions to sort of be intelligent or plausible. In that moment, there's no need to kill the Victoria Newman character. I don't care what Butcher does in the next season. Everyone got rounded up or whatever. I don't care. I'm leaving the show saying that Frenchie and Kimiko, they kissed. Excited about that. I thought it was funny, or not funny, but they try to. I don't know how tall Frenchie is over Kimiko, but I'm pretty sure they're the same height. But then they make her lean up to kiss him. That made me smirk a little bit from my heart or whatever. But all the other shit in the show that happened in this episode, I don't care. It makes no sense that Sage is still loyal to Homelander. I fucking thought when she came out the balloon that she had a lobotomy or some shit. I don't fucking know. I did. I thought that for a second. But for her to go, yeah, it's okay. You threw me away, but I just wanted to know if I could still pull everything off. On paper, that can make sense because she's egomaniacal on certain levels. But the idea was she was talking to she was talking to Victoria Newman. She was talking about how she kind of hated the patriarchy or men or in general or whatever. And you could say maybe on a surface level that she was running a double con, she was tricking Victoria Newman with that kind of rhetoric or whatever. But then, you know, she was acting kind of crazy to Firecracker. And with Firecracker, she was making it seem like she cared about the black experience, because she was like, I don't like people hating on me because I'm black or whatever. And I thought maybe on a certain level that was why she didn't. I mean, I would appreciate it if the show had went ahead and said that maybe that was some of. I mean, she could have tipped off A Train or whatever, and maybe she could have done some of that in sort of a black solidarity. I mean, that'd have been a thing for me, not for everybody, but for me. But then you could say there was probably no solidarity between her and A Train because they didn't even really click in that little team up that they were in before the show started or whatever that he mentions. But I'm willing to say that maybe like on a fundamental level that she's not just going to dap up every black person that she sees, but on a fundamental sense, maybe she does care about the cause or a cause, whatever. But that didn't happen. She just goes back to Homelander and says, it's cool, bro. Don't worry about that. Like, I made a plan for all of that or whatever. So, you know, I didn't think that was particularly well done or sort of logical. The times when Firecracker was coughing or being sick, I thought maybe they had already poisoned her somehow, and she gave Homelander some tainted milk or whatever. But that concludes my rant on the finale. I have no more interest, in the show. Um, I would have been okay with season 5, whatever, but having Butcher kill Victoria Newman and just go like, there's nothing redeemable um, in his character now. I don't care if he lives or dies. Mother's Milk is, I'm just doing a brief recap. Mother's Milk can't do shit. He doesn't have any powers. They wrote him to not be a good leader. Um, Huey's Huey is still Huey. I think it's funny that they glossed over that his dad killed, like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 people in the hospital. And it's like Huey is like, I forgive A Train, but it's like Huey is A Train for those families in the hospital, and they didn't explain how they covered that up or whatever. I'm glad Frenchie and Kimiko like each other formally or whatever, or out in the open. Um, I think Starlight did some good acting with her doppelganger or whatever. Plus, I mean, I thought giving her a doppelganger was a great way for her to confront her, you know, struggle with herself. But that was some good writing.